If you thought that the legal battle between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp ended with the defamation case ruling, think again. Johnny Depp's response to Amber Heard's appeal is proof that the legal battle is only just beginning. So what was Depp's response to Amber's appeal, and how did Amber take it? Johnny Depp has responded to Amber's appeal by submitting his assignments of error to the Court of Appeals of Virginia. In his submission, Depp called out the trial court for excluding an important witness in the defamation case. The trial court erred by excluding the expert testimony of Dr. Kimberly Collins, a forensic pathologist retained and designated by Mr. Depp, the submission read. Dr. Collins was to be a crucial witness in testifying as a rebuttal witness to Amber Heard during the defamation trial. However, she was unable to testify, but her opinions on Amber Heard's injuries have been revealed to the public, and here are her findings. Based on Mrs. Heard's description of the violence, Dr. Collins would expect to see swelling and confusions of the face, as well as lacerations and incised wounds to the face secondary to the strike, which allegedly resulted in blood on the wall. The skin would have been broken. Facial scarring could have resulted from such a strike due to the blunt force trauma combined with sharp force injuries from the rings. Dr. Collins is not aware of any facial scarring to Ms. Heard. The document then went on to say, the facial injuries depicted in the photographs provided are not consistent with Ms. Heard's description of the alleged abuse. Dr. Collins would expect such facial trauma to have resulted in a confused black eye with swelling. With such abuse, Dr. Collins would expect bruising to the area struck, kicked, and bruised, and/or abrasions to the face. By pulling the hair, traumatic alopecia could result. Kicking could cause broken ribs and contusions all over the body. None of these were depicted in photographs provided. In another analysis of Heard's photographs, the document indicated, from such sharp force injury, Dr. Collins would expect incisions on the feet and arms. No pictures are provided for the alleged fresh cuts to Ms. Heard's body. However, pictures of scars are provided. It is difficult to ascertain from the pictures of these scars when the injuries occurred. These scars could also be caused by self-inflicted wounds. After 3 days of extreme acts of physical violence as described by Ms. Heard, Dr. Collins would expect to see severe injuries to various parts of the body. Dr. Collins would expect injuries to the lips and nose and possibly a broken nose. Dr. Collins would expect neck contusions from manual strangulation. None of these are depicted in the photographs provided. In the final analysis, Dr. Collins referred to Amber's injuries as acne. Photographs of Ms. Heard depict nonspecific redness and what appears to be acne. Based on Ms. Heard's description of the abuse, Dr. Collins would expect more swelling and contusions in the areas of Ms. Heard's eye and nose, which are not reflected in these photographs taken 6 days after Ms. Heard alleged she was abused. The document reads, Dr. Collins' valuable information about Amber's bruises might be used to toss out Amber's appeal. Fans all over social media have had mixed reactions over the analysis of Dr. Collins. Yes, that report of Dr. Collins confirms everything I believed about her claims from the get-go, one person wrote. Well, you know that argument about how we aren't experts and wouldn't know? Well, what do you know? The expert agreed, a second person added. A third person asked why Dr. Collins never testified and got a reply saying, because she was designated only as a rebuttal expert to one of Amber's experts. Since Amber didn't call them, there's nothing to rebut, so no Collins. On the other hand, Amber's fans have also come to her rescue in large numbers. I find it incredibly bizarre that a pathologist would make such conclusions just by looking at photos, one fan wrote. Why didn't this doctor testify? LOL, because it's highly unethical to come to medical conclusions without ever speaking to the patient or examining them. This doctor's statement can be tossed in the bin, period, a second fan wrote. Just goes to show you can pay an expert to say anything. What type of hack doesn't account for force? The person's on anatomy and physical reactions to trauma, etc.? Number one, as a doctor, she should know the photos right after aren't going to show bruising because it just freaking happened, and that can take 1 to 2 days. Number two, you can literally see bruises on her eyes, swollen nose, and the fact that half of her bottom lip is twice the size of the other half. A third fan added, while a fourth one simply wrote, anyone saying her injuries don't look bad enough has never been punched in the face. 4 months after a jury awarded Depp $10.3 million in damages, Heard is now trying to appeal the decision along with her attorneys, David L. Axelrod and J. Ward Brown of Ballard Spahr. Amber Heard filed an appellate brief listing 16 grounds for appeal on October 11th, and documents obtained by Vanity Fair reveal that the grounds for her appeal include everything from lack of clear and convincing evidence for actual malice, the standard whereby defamation cases are decided, to the trial court's failure to invalidate the damages that the jury assigned after it found both Heard and Depp had defamed each other. Some of the grounds had already been mentioned either in court or in post-trial interviews by her former representation, Elaine Bredehoft. So basically, there was nothing new. Several of the points have to do with evidence admitted that should not have been, and evidence that was not admitted that should have been, including various communications with medical professionals, as well as with employees, friends, and family. However, in August, a spokesperson for Heard announced she had parted ways with Bredehoft and had retained David L. Axelrod and J. Ward Brown of Ballard Spar to handle the appeal, while Ben Rottenborn of Woods Rogers would stay on as co-counsel. Ballard Spar defended the New York Times against former Republican vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin's defamation case and won, suggesting that they would help frame the appeal more firmly around First Amendment rights. A spokesperson for Heard told Vanity Fair in August that a different court warrants different representation, particularly as so much new evidence is now coming to light. It might come as a shocker to some, but this isn't the first time Amber has tried to appeal the defamation trial judgment. Amber Heard has previously tried to appeal for mistrial over improper juror service. However, Penny Askerit, who presided over the high-profile case, dismissed claims that an individual juror had not been properly vetted and said the court remained bound by the jury's competent decision. In documents filed earlier in July this year, the Aquaman Star legal team said that the newly discovered facts and information about the juror meant that a mistrial ought to be declared. The lawyers said that one of the individuals originally summoned to serve in the trial had not appeared and had been replaced by someone else. They also argued previously that the decision returned on June 1st in favor of Mr. Depp was not supported by the evidence presented during the 6-week trial. But Judge Askerit said the juror issue was irrelevant and that Ms. Heard could not show she had been prejudiced. The juror was vetted, sat for the entire jury, deliberated, and reached a verdict, she said. The only evidence before this court is that the juror and all jurors followed their oaths, the court's instructions, and orders. This court is bound by the competent decision of the jury. It remains to be seen how successful this appeal ultimately is. And while we know more about Amber Heard's strategy, the public is still in the dark regarding how Johnny Depp's team of lawyers are appealing. Regardless, it's clear that the two actors' legal battle is far from over, despite the months of quiet after the verdict. On the flip side, Johnny Depp seems to be having a professional comeback as of late, returning to Dior Sauvage commercials, filming a new movie, touring as a musician, and even picking up a directing gig. As for Amber Heard, she's expected to appear in Aquaman 2, although there were reports that her role was reduced for the sequel. But now, we would love to hear from you. Do you think Amber Heard has a chance of winning the appeal, or will Johnny Depp manage to get the appeal tossed out before it even begins? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.